You know, it's a thing I thought about, because I looked up when we watched this episode, and it was like February of 2022, and I thought to myself, is this just what I'm going to do now? Every 3 years I'm going to have to rewatch this episode in particular? Hey guys, Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films back again with Doctor Who. Last time around we had School Reunion. What was that one about?
Well, the Doctor and Rose went to a school where it seems they were having some really weird things going on, and an intrepid investigative reporter named Sarah Jane Smith happened to be there, and the Doctor recognized her, although she didn't recognize him at first. It turns out that what was going on is aliens had invaded. These aliens had literally been throughout the galaxy, interbreeding with different species. They were trying to solve some kind of, existential question on the history of time and the universe and everything. And essentially the Doctor blew them up.
Yeah. I
don't remember exactly what happened. But then Sarah Jane, a very poignant scene where Sarah Jane says, you never came back. And he began to say to her, you don't understand. I'm literally living forever. I've had several regenerations since I saw you last. And you're going to grow old, but I'm not. And then Sarah Jane and Rose had a conversation, and then Mickey decided to come along for the next adventure, which was kind of weird.
Well, he doesn't want to be the tin dog anymore. He's seen these great things, but he wants to see more out there. And Rose is just completely thrilled about this, as Rose always is when anyone else is on the TARDIS, except Jack. She was always okay with Jack. So, but yeah, it was a good reunion with a classic companion, and all the better having actually watched those episodes now. And that's the thing too, is like when I originally watched the Sarah Jane Adventures, we still hadn't watched those episodes with Sarah Jane and Classic Doctor. So I've watched Sarah Jane stuff completely out of order, basically, and now I've got it all. Now it's all good, and I can get it in the right order now. But still, it's all very good and very interesting. So today we are on a rewatch. We're rewatching Girl in the Fireplace.
Oh yeah, I enjoyed that one.
Yeah, I do too. I have said, and this is once again the third time I'm watching this on camera, much like the Dalek episode. But I have said, and I still hold this, that it is my favorite episode of Doctor Who. I just think it's kind of quintessential Doctor Who. It's history, but with alien hijinks, and the story and the connection that we will get into with Madame de Pompadour, I thought was really, really good. And pretty much ever since I have said that, people have been coming out of the woodworks to tell me this episode sucks, and I will not stand for it. And I'm not standing right now, so it's all working out anyway. So, anyway.
No, I remember I rather enjoyed it. Again, the alien part, I understand that people don't enjoy the historicals as much as we do, but I did enjoy the historical aspect of it.
Yeah, definitely. So, well, in this one too, because the whole thing of, going through, and it's like, it's the different, parts of her life that are on the ship. Like, it starts off just, with the alien ship, and you just keep seeing these little glimpses of her history. Like that's just such an interesting concept. So, yeah. You got anything else?
I can't remember. I know it's set in France before the Revolution. So mid-1700s or so, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
Just wanted to point out, the first show of the next season, which I'm directing, is The Scarlet Pimpernel. Originally by a woman writer named Baroness Orczy. She wrote several novels, and then she combined several of them into a play. This is the new adaptation of her original play by Beverly Cross, if I recall correctly, done in 1985 at the Chichester Festival there in England. I did a production back in the 90s, and we're doing it again at the Jewel Box Theatre where I work. in February.
Yeah. Good marketing. Good tie-in. To people who probably are never going to come anyway. So,
well, if you're in the Oklahoma City area in February, stop by and see it. And meet me.
Yeah. So, I will not be there, but he will be. So, but that's probably for the best, because you can tell him how much you love him instead of telling me how much my opinions suck. So, it all just kind of works out for the best anyway. Anyhow.
Alex didn't even come see me in the show I was in last month.
Look, you're going to make me sound terrible.
They didn't have to come.
That sentence ended a while ago. Anyway. Anyhow. Yeah, I guess that's pretty much that. We might as well just jump right in.
Let's do it. Didn't we say we assume this is the Palace of Versailles?
We are under attack.
51st century. Dagmar cluster. You're a long way from home, Mickey. 2.5 galaxies.
Mickey Smith, meet the universe. See anything you like?
You're so realistic.
Yeah,
Well, I would hope so.
Cowboys in here. Good question. No life readings on board.
Well, we're in deep space. They didn't just nip out for a quick fag.
No. Checked all the smoking pods.
Monsieur, what are you doing in my fireplace?
No, it's just a routine fire check. Can you tell me what year it is?
Of course I can. 1727.
Right, lovely. One of my favourites. August is rubbish, though. Stay indoors. Okay, that's all for now. Thanks for your help. Spatiotemporal hyperlink.
What's that?
No idea. Just made it up. I want to say magic door.
And on the other side of the magic door is France in 1727.
Well, she was speaking French. Right period French, I think.
65 years
Speaking English,
before
I heard it.
Scarlet
That's how
Pimpernel.
this translates for you.
Even French?
Yep.
Even French?
Renette. Don't look round. You stay exactly where you are.
You want me?
Not yet. You are incomplete.
Incomplete? What does that mean, incomplete? You can answer her, you can answer me. What do you mean, incomplete?
Monsieur, be careful!
Touche.
Just a nightmare, Renette. Don't worry about it. Everyone has nightmares. You monsters from under the bed have nightmares, don't you, monster?
What do monsters have nightmares about?
Me!
Yes, the old clockwork clown.
Space age clockwork, I love it. I've got chills. Listen, seriously. I mean this from the heart, and by the way, count those. It would be a crime. It would be an act of vandalism to disassemble you. But that won't stop me.
Yeah.
Why does she have a t-shirt that says Wichita
You
Falls?
said not to look for it.
I don't know. I noticed that like the last time we watched this.
He's got one for Nintendo.
Yeah.
Now you get it. Go to the carriage, Mother. I will join you there. It is customary, I think, to have an imaginary friend only during one's childhood. You are to be congratulated on your persistence.
Renette. Well, goodness how you've grown.
And you do not appear to have aged a single day. That is tremendously impolite of you. How could you be a stranger to me? I've known you since I was 7 years old.
Yeah, I suppose you have. Ha, I came the quick route.
You seem to be flesh and blood at any rate, but this is absurd. Reason tells me you cannot be real.
Oh, you never want to listen to reason.
Mademoiselle Poisson!
Still got it.
No, wait, Renette Poisson! Later Madame Etoile, later still Mistress of Louis XV, uncrowned Queen of France. Actress, artist, musician, dancer, courtesan. Fantastic gardener. Who the hell are you? I'm the doctor. And I just snogged Madame de Pompadour.
Bye.
There could be anything on this ship.
Speaking of. Oh, he's getting better at rolling.
Are you looking at me?
Yeah.
What's that in the middle there? It's like it's wired in.
It's a heart, Mickey. It's a human heart.
I think we referenced the door at Jabba the Hutt's palace last time we saw the eye.
Blimey, look at this guy. Who does he think he is?
King of France.
Oh, there's trouble. What have you been up to?
Oh, this and that. Became the imaginary friend of a future French aristocrat. Picked a fight with a clockwork man. Oh, and I met a horse.
What's a horse doing on a spaceship?
Mickey, what's pre-revolutionary France doing on a spaceship? Get a little perspective. Jean-Antoinette Poisson, known to her friends as Renette, one of the most accomplished women who ever lived.
So she got plans to meet the Queen then?
No, he's already got a queen. She's got plans of being his mistress.
Oh, I get it. Camilla.
Rude.
Queen must have loved her.
No, she did. They get on very well.
King's wife and the king's girlfriend.
France. It's a different planet. That ship hasn't moved in over a year. What's taking you so long?
We did not have the parts. Always comes down to that, doesn't it? The parts.
What's happened to the crew? Where are they?
We did not have the parts.
There should have been over 50 people on your ship. Where did they go?
We did not have the parts.
We found a camera with an eye in it. And there was a heart wired into machinery.
It's just doing what it was programmed to. Repairing the ship any way it can with whatever it can find.
You forgot to program that clause into it,
I told
not
it
to use the
crew.
crew.
What did you say the flight deck smelled of?
Someone cooking.
Flesh plus heat.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned
Barbecue.
before when I took an anatomy class, standing over a cadaver, I definitely thought it smelled like roast beef.
All of history to choose from. Why specifically her?
We are the same.
We're not the same. We are in no sense the same.
We are the same.
Get out of here. Get out of here this instant.
Renette, no. Rose, take Mickey and Arthur. Get after it. Follow it. Don't approach it. Just watch what it does.
Arthur.
Good name for a horse.
No, you're not keeping the horse.
Keep Mickey. Now go, go, go!
I let you keep Mickey.
So, that doctor, eh?
What are you talking about?
Madame de Pompadour, Sarah Jane Smith, Cleopatra.
Cleopatra, he mentioned a wife.
Yeah, he called her Cleo.
Good job, Mickey.
To walk among the memories of another living soul. Do you ever get used to this?
I don't make a habit of it.
How can you resist?
What age are you?
So impertinent a question so early in the conversation. So lonely, so very, very alone.
You mean alone? You've never been alone in your life. When did you start calling me doctor?
Such a lonely little boy. Lonely then and lonelier now. How can you bear it?
How did you do that?
A door once opened, maybe step through in either direction. Dance with me.
I can't.
Dance with me.
This is the night you dance with the king.
Then first I shall make him jealous.
I can't.
Doctor. Doctor Who? It's more than just a secret, isn't it?
What did you say?
That there comes a time, Time Lord, when every lonely little boy must learn how to dance.
Ever heard of the Daleks? Remember them? They had a name for our friend. They had myths about him and a name. They called him the... They called him the...
I beg for more. I could have spread my wings
from My Fair Lady.
Have you met the French?
I've been in it. Twice.
God, they know how to party.
Oh, look at what the cat dragged in, the oncoming storm.
You sound just like your mother.
What have you been doing? Where
Looks like Crowley now.
Do you know, they've never even seen a banana before. Always take a banana to a party, Rose. Bananas are good.
That's twice now.
Oh, yeah. Both in a Moffat story, actually.
You're Mr. Thickety Thick Face from Thick Town, Thickania. And so's your dad. One of them must still be out there with Renette. That's why I can't close the windows. There's an override.
Oh, running into shoes.
Right. Many things about this are not good.
There is a vessel in your world where the days of my life are pressed together like the chapters of a book, so that he may step from one to the other without increase of age, while I, weary traveller, must always take the slower path.
Who's right there?
Yes.
So in 5
She's
years,
incredibly
the switches
smart.
will return. What can be done?
You okay?
No.
She wouldn't
I'm
understand
very
the word
afraid.
okay. Although it's
But you
translated.
and I both know, don't we, Rose? The Doctor is worth the monsters.
Word okay didn't come into common use until the 1840s.
But I never thought about that use of TARDIS translation.
Such a commotion, such distressing noise. Kindly remember that this is Versailles. This is the royal court, and we are French. And if my nightmare can return to plague me, then rest assured, so will yours.
So majestic. Oh, they've been missing a horse for like 15 years now.
Forget it. It's over. For you and for me. Talk about 7 years bad luck. Try 3,000.
We can't fly the TARDIS without him. How's he gonna get back?
Take the long way round.
Broken mirrors and torn tapestries around here, I'm afraid. Wherever there was a time window. I'll pay for any damage. I also thought I'm gonna need money. Something a bit vague about money. Where'd you get money?
It's not a copy, it's the original. I had it moved here and was exact in every detail.
The fireplace. Wish me luck.
No.
Madame de Pompadour. Still want to see those stars?
More than anything.
Give me 2 minutes. Pack a bag.
You just missed her. She'll be in Paris by 6.
Oh.
Good Lord. She was right. She said you never looked a day older. And there she goes. Leaving Versailles for the last time. Only 43 when she died. Too young. Too young. What does she say? Of course.
Well, it's on watching this again for the third time. You realize this is exactly what he was talking about last episode.
My dear Doctor, the paths never seem more slow, and yet I fear I am nearing its end. Reason tells me that you and I are unlikely to meet again, but I think I shall not listen to reason.
Hmm. 'Cause- 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 'cause-
theoretically, couldn't he go back and see her before she died?
No,
But he couldn't. He
Yeah.
wouldn't.
Well, he said because they're a part of those events, you can't take the TARDIS back there.
The big reveal. Now, I'd like to know who played Raynette.
Alright, let me see if I can do that.
It doesn't matter if I see it. Part of the preview.
It kind of matters. I gotta tell you, it kind of matters.
Sophia Miles. She looked very familiar. Well, it's just as heartbreaking as it was the first time we saw it.
And the second time I saw it. 3 times I've watched this episode now on camera. And every time, it's still definitely up there. Watching it again, though, with the context of the rest of the season and last season, is also very interesting because there are 2 things that jump out at me with this. First is that this is exactly what he talked about last episode, where he said, you can live the rest of your life with me, but I cannot live the rest of my life with you. He won't grow old, but they will, and they will eventually pass on. It is interesting, though, they talk about, like, oh, all these years have passed and you don't look any different. Theoretically, if he had stayed that entire, her entire life, he still wouldn't have looked any different,
Yeah.
but still. The other thing, this was written by Stephen Moffat, who would go on to be the showrunner, but he also did The Empty Child and The Doctor Dances, that 2-parter. And it definitely kind of reminds me of that, where it's like, it's almost taking... It's just taking something fantastical and then just adding in this interesting sci-fi element to it. Like, this almost seems like a fairy tale with a hard sci-fi, well, they've got the ship and they're opening these time windows and stuff, and they're trying to, repair the ship, and they're, just robots just doing what they're programmed to do. In the same way of, like, let's take, the idea of this terrifying, horror story, but let's put it in World War II with this kid with a gas mask fused to his face and these nanogenes that create these gas mask people. Like, I like the sort of, like, we're taking something that is kind of old and just adding this. It just blends it very well, I feel like. Yeah. So.
And I read something this week that has finally led me to understand, you said there's like 13 episodes each season.
Yeah.
And I realized that although there's still quite a lot of filming on set, there's a lot of on-location stuff too.
Yeah.
And this is not like shooting a television show anymore, where they literally have to do a script every 7 to 10 days, because even in modern series, they usually have 24 to 26 episodes, because that way they can then do half a year of repeats. But if you've got 13 episodes and you're constantly going on location or building new sets like they had here, obviously they filmed someplace that looked like Versailles in some of the spots. It may have been Versailles itself. That means transporting your entire cast and crew to Paris to film on the grounds, that sort of thing. So yeah, it is more like filming 13 movies over the course of a year and then showing them. So that I'm beginning to understand that a lot more now.
Yeah, honestly, because nowadays I see so many people on Twitter talking about, like, we don't get, the 24 episode season anymore, because every show is so much bigger than it used to be, and everything costs so much more money that we can't do that anymore. And now, like, we're lucky if we get, a new season of House of the Dragon that's 8 episodes, and it was barely 8 episodes long. Or, even something like, I don't know, I'm sure there are, just cop shows that aren't as long as they used to be. And it is interesting kind of going to this, and it's like, this kind of was the first one to do it, which makes sense that, in the first season, it was still a risk of, can they bring back Doctor Who? So they couldn't have a super long season like in the old days. And even though technically, I guess it's technically around the same amount of time, because if you have 26 episodes, but they're all a half hour, well, now you have 13 episodes, but they're all double length. So it kind of equals out to about the same thing. But
we begin to realize with Eccleston, even though it was being filmed in Cardiff, remember all of those scenes that were literally outside and at nighttime and all the special effects and everything. So that makes a lot more sense. But still, there's such a huge upgrade in the writing. All right, Moffat and who's the other showrunner? RTD. Yeah. So, like you said, it's taking some very interesting philosophical things, adding a little bit of science fiction, the Clockwork People to it. It blends very, very well. And I'm only season and a half into 15, 16 seasons now of New Who, but I'm really enjoying it. It's not a reboot so much as it is just an upgrade. All right, they've taken the very same idea from 1963 and everything that happened up to 1989, and they've simply not rebooted it, but simply upgraded it. They've evolved it into what it is now. And I appreciate all the stuff that they've done.
Yeah. Well, and it's also too, like, I think what makes episodes like this work as a historical episode is, yes, half of it we're, in French trying to figure out what's happening, but then we're also on the ship trying to figure out what's going on. I think what works for this is you get that deep historical connection just with Renette. Like, having that, it reminds me of, back with the first Doctor when you would have, like, the Marco Polo episode. And that was such a great episode where, you really connect to it, not just from being in that time, but from having an important historical character there. Or the same thing with The Unquiet Dead when we met Charles Dickens. It was a great way of, not only just being in this world, but really understanding it. Yeah. So, I feel like that works, whereas, there will be other episodes in classic Doctor Who. I would say probably, even though we enjoyed the episode, but Ghostlight is one where it's like, it was a great episode. It was interesting. The whole thing with the computer thing was really interesting, and the setting was interesting, but there wasn't a primary character to get to know within that historical context. Yeah. So yeah, I'm sure there's a world where, he doesn't, accidentally wait too long, and he does take Madame de Pompadour to the stars. I don't know if that's a comic book or maybe some other alternate timeline, but that could have been really interesting. Yeah. She's incredibly smart, like smarter than most companions we've had, which is interesting. Yeah. And just the fact that she can, when he's looking into her mind, she accidentally, well, not even accidentally, but she just goes into his mind, and he's not expecting her to be able to do that, So all of that is just really good, and it just makes for such a great character. So, and then, on top of that, adding the unfortunate tragedy that, well, it's almost not even a tragedy, because it's just how things played out at that point. Yeah. That's how she ended up dying.
But the fact that even at the end he didn't understand, he said, give me 2 minutes, pack a bag, go look at the stars, I'll be right back. Yeah. And in his 2 minutes, when he comes back, it's 7 years later.
Yeah. The fact that he forgot, basically, that time passes so much faster on the ship, basically. Yeah. Or in France, I guess, compared to the ship. So, and then just on top of it, while it has such this tragic, sad ending, it's still a very funny episode too. Yeah. You're just walking around a spaceship, there's a horse. Like that was really funny, and or like Mickey saying, "Why is there a horse on a spaceship?" And he's like, "Why is 18th century France on a spaceship? Get some perspective." So, and also, I don't know why, I really like the designs of the robots. Like, anything clockwork in fiction, I don't know why that's so interesting. I guess because it's one of those things I kind of like when I see something that should not be possible yet, you know? Like, sometimes, like, I'll look at, like, stuff in video game history, and there'll be like, yes, on the Game Boy Color, there was some games in Japan where you could connect it to your cell phone, your little brick cell phone, and you could actually go online and play video games online. It's like, they barely invented the internet at that point, and you're going online. It's like, but I like little things like that. So anything with a clockwork robot is always really interesting to me.
Now, in the 1700s, that was, 1740 something, I think they said. That was literally right at the beginning of what we would now consider the Industrial Revolution. There had been all sorts of simple machines. I mean, even the Greeks and the Romans had very simple, pulleys and levers and things like that. But the idea that there was an entire mechanism, a clockwork person, should have, totally frightened the people there at Versailles, because they would have never seen anything like that. I mean, 1742, if I recall correctly, you barely would have had the improvement of the steam engine and the beginning of the very first trains, which were huge. They were still clockwork kind of machinery, but they hadn't thought of miniaturizing that to the point where you could literally invent some kind of clockwork robot.
Yeah. Well, and it's a strange thing to think about, because, they have the French costumes basically as the disguise when they go to France. But otherwise, this ship just had clockwork robots, basically, that were trying to fix it. It's like, and especially because nothing about the rest of the ship suggests that sort of style, that sort of, I guess, kind of steampunky style, that it's like, for some reason, they just got really stylistic with these robots, but that leads in, it feeds into to the whole thing with France, basically. So just all in all, just the look of this episode is really, really interesting. Yeah. So, and then just down to, when you start seeing, just like, oh, there's a camera with an eyeball, there's some circuitry, and it's got a heart in the middle of it, and it's like, what is going on here? Until I finally realize, like, oh, they didn't have the parts to fix the ship, so they got the parts from the humans. And it's like, well, I mean, but that's the thing, you didn't put that clause in there, don't hurt humans. Well, that's one of the 3 laws of robotics that Isaac Asimov did, back in the 50s or early 60s. Robots and any kind of now artificial intelligence are not supposed to be able to harm a human being. Yeah. I was watching a video about, like, which this is the most, like, terrifying video to watch, but it was basically titled AI, Humanity's Final Invention. And it was just going on about, at the end, it was going on about, how AI can basically transcend humanity in terms of thought and capability and stuff. It was a really nice, relaxing video to watch before going to bed. But there was, like, the top comment on that was like, here's what we need to do. We just need the AI to think that humans are cute. Because think about cats and dogs. They're perfectly fine under humans. So if the AI thinks we're cute, we will all survive under them. Yes, but we'll be their pets. And yeah, that's I think the video did talk about that a little bit, of like, well, because they said, like, oh, well, will AI view us as, lower life forms? And they said humanity has not been very kind to what they deem lower life forms. Yeah. So, but anyway, but yeah, still just a very good, very interesting episode. The Doctor learned to dance, made the king jealous and everything. So, although they didn't show him doing that. No, see, here's the thing, because the comments got onto us a bit for when they brought up dancing last time, which was also in a Moffat story, now that I think about it, that dancing needs to be the code word. And people specifically got on to me for not noticing it, having watched these episodes multiple times. And I said, look, why don't you try discussing dancing next to your 70-year-old dad? It's not something you want to do, okay? So we get it. And hey, clearly it was a heck of a dance. It turned him into Crowley for a second. So, and yeah, and another thing from the, this is also a Moffat story, like the last one, is they brought up the bananas again.
Yes.
So,
bananas are good.
Yeah, and that's not code for anything. He literally just he'll have a literal banana with him.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Other than that, I don't know how much else I can really say about the episode. You got anything else?
I got nothing. What's up next?
Next up is Rise of the...
Well, that's all right. I'll forget it by next week. You know that.
No, you're not. You're not gonna forget about it. Look, I'm actually going to go in and I'm going to pre-record the next episode, and then I'm going to take the title out of the beginning of the episode, because it's not revealed. Well, it's not revealed at the beginning, but yeah, I pretty much, as a little behind the scenes, I was loading up the DVD today, and this is the first episode that's on this particular disc. And when I loaded up the menu, there is the title of the next episode in all its glory, and I thought, oh my gosh, what do I do about this? So I hastily figured out a way to avoid the spoiler. I mean, it's fine, and it's not like it's going to ruin the episode, but also still, I'm going to try to keep it a little secretive.
Well, I mean, there's only a couple of recurring enemies. I'm assuming that it's not going to be one of the three more famous ones, Daleks and Cybermen and Autons. It may be, it doesn't matter. But there were also the Silurians and, the
Draconians?
No.
Or the
big heavy-set ones with the port in the back of their neck.
Oh, the Sontarans.
I love the Sontarans.
Yeah, so
it's got to be one of those. So, again, I'll forget this by next week. We're still doing Dracula at the theater. We close next weekend, so
yeah. So, but either way, we will keep that slightly a secret. I don't think there are too many others that are bad like that. I mean, it's in the same way of you're going through season 1. Suddenly, there's just an episode titled Dalek, and if you don't know they're coming back, suddenly that's a spoiler. Or just any time we saw that in classic Doctor Who. I think there was one where we didn't. I think, what was it? The Moon Base. I think that was like one of the second Doctor's first episodes, and with that, the spoiler wasn't from the title, but it was from the writer, because I think it was the person that created the Cybermen.
Yeah. So
it was like, wait a minute, this is a Cybermen story, and then we go through and it's like, oh, it is a Cyberman story. So, but only we would know that. Probably people watching that 60 years ago didn't know that. Yeah. So they wouldn't have caught that. But yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. It's going to be a little while before our next rewatch episode. So that is basically it. With all of that being said, we're Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films, and we will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. There's a bunch of links on screen if you want to go click around any of those. There's a playlist with all of our modern Doctor Who reactions, which includes 2 versions of this video if you want to watch that, as well as a classic Doctor Who playlist. There's also a subscribe button and a Patreon button on screen, as well as other links in the description if you want to go check out any of those. See you guys later.